First of all, I want to welcome everybody for coming. I thank you. This is going to be super exciting. This region is amazing, and we have some amazing people on our panel to talk with us today. So for those that don't know me in person, my name is Tiffany Tobey. I am the Alto Adige ambassador for the central portion of the United States. I was blessed enough to be able to go visit them whenever, I would say in March is whenever we went, so not too long ago. This is the second class in a three-part series that discusses different topics of this region. Today, we're going to be having virtual conversations with producers. I have three lovely producers on the camera in front of you right now. We are going to give a little bit of a brief intro for each of them. We have Ines. She is the Director of Sales and Marketing at Castelfeder. She's a third-generation family member that is leading the entire family-owned winery, which is a very cool thing around here. All three of our panelists are family-owned wineries, which is a unique thing for this region. I'm sure you'll hear more about that coming up. She studied enology and viticulture and joined the family winery in 2008. She also runs the local Pinot Noir Association, which has organized Pinot Noir tastings in this area for more than 25 years, which is very fun. Then we also have Magdalena Pratzner. She is the winemaker and co-owner at Falkenstein. She's second generation of the winery, and it was founded by her father 25 years ago. She has a bachelor's degree in enology and wine and economics. She's worked all over from France to Australia to the United States, and finally went back home to Alto Adige because there's really nothing like it there. And then for our final panelist, we have Matthias Jaeger. He is the sales manager at Manincor, which I was very excited and privileged to be able to visit while I was there. It is a beautiful property with beautiful little baby animals everywhere, and I really enjoyed it. He is going to be taking us through some of their practices and their wine as well. So the four wines that we are going to be going through is going to be Falkenstein Pinot Bianco, the Val Venosta 2021, the Niles Magritte Pinot Bianco Sirmian 2021, Manincor Pinot Nero Maison 2020, and Castelfelder Pinot Nero Reserva Bergam Novum 2019. So if you guys would like to say hello and welcome everybody, I will give you guys a minute to do that, and then we'll just dive straight into some questions.
Thank you for being here and listening to us, and I hope we'll have a great chat. And thank you, Tiffany.
Magdalena?
Yes, hello everyone as well. I'm really excited for this tasting today, and I'm really sure we will tasting some really exciting wines from all over Alto Adige.
Hello from my side, and excited to taste this beautiful wine.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. So just to give everybody kind of a breakdown, we're going to do this like a conversation. This is not going to be a formal masterclass where I expect you to follow an outline and take notes and drink this right now and tell me what you smell. So as we're talking, feel free to taste through your wines. Go back and forth, however you'd like to do it. We're fine with it. If you can't drink them now, enjoy them later. We're going to go ahead and dive right into some of the questions. The first thing that I have is for all of my panel members. Alto Adige is a very tiny region. For those that are just joining us, I'm not sure you guys realize how tiny and beautiful and pristine this region is. It's at the very, very northern area of Italy's border, Austria. But their altitude and terroir and varieties that are grown are some of the most unique in the entire country of Italy. Which areas of Alto Adige make especially good growing sites for Pinot Nero and Pinot Bianco? And what do you guys think about these specific terroirs that create the environment for those grapes?
Do you want to answer that?
Whoever wants to go first.
Okay, I'll just start. So for Pinot Noir specifically, it's very interesting because most of it is concentrated in the southern part of Alto Adige, Bolzano, and the south down to the Salurna Klause, which is kind of the language border between the Alto Adige region and Trentino, and also the main wine growing area. Within this area, which we see here on this slide, we see Bolzano and then the very south. And within this area, Pinot Noir is planted on both sides of the valley, but mostly if we start from Bolzano to the south in Epan, we have some, so on the right side of the river, we have some Pinot Noir. And then the further south you go in Egna, Montagna, Salorno, these are some of the best Pinot Noir areas that we have. And also, of course, in Caldaro towards the lake. So that's a very concentrated area for Pinot Noir. If you look at this map, and I always like to say that there is a reason why Pinot Noir is planted in these areas, because there is this division between volcanic origin soils and calcarean soils, and mainly in those areas that I just mentioned, we have the mix of the two. So we have clay soils with a different level of calcarean content, which gives the best soil types for Pinot Nero and gives the best results. Where Magdalena is located in the Val Venosta, there is also Pinot Noir, but planted on a different type of soil. And so a completely different outcome of the wines, completely different expression, which when we also discussed, shows the diversity of Alto Adige so well.
Yeah, I completely agree, Ines. The thing is that maybe sometimes, or I think not everybody is conscious of that we are in the Alps. We're in the middle of the Alps. We are in the middle of the mountains. You can south sides of the Alps, and you have to think that the climate is different, and the topography and the microclimates are very, very different in each single valley. So the Pinot Bianco and the Pinot Nero, which we're talking about today, find their soils and especially their microclimates in some special areas. Because I always say the Pinot Nero is a white with a nice red dress, because they like the same area, they like the same microclimate, almost the same soil. But you always have to be aware that we are in the middle of the Alps. You can, like I told you, it's the southern part of the Alps, it's the foothills of the Alps. So they start to not, I mean, we are not that high in altitude, but still we are in the Alps. So that's the reason we have Pinot Nero, we have Pinot Bianco, and we have a lot of different other grapes, because the altitudes are different, the microclimates are different, and the topography is different. So what do you think, Magdalena?
I totally agree with both of you. Like Ines and also Matthias said, we have those different areas where we can produce Pinot Blanc and Pinot Noir, and the style is different, the terroir is different, and they are diverse, and that shows also a little bit the diversity what we have in Alto Adige. As Ines said, Pinot Nero we find more in the south, and Pinot Blanc we find it all over Alto Adige. It's all alongside the Val Adige Valley. And you can, the Pinot Blanc, you see, we have vineyards from Val Venosta until to the south, to the Salorno Clausa. And I think it shows very well the diversity of our little country.
Absolutely. I think that all three aspects of what you guys just said really goes to show the difference in each little area of this tiny region. Another thing that I want to point out before we keep going is that if anybody would like to ask questions, there is a Q&A section, and myself and the panelists will be watching that. So if anything pops into your mind, please put it in the Q&A, and we will get your questions answered to the best of our ability. So I look forward to seeing some interaction from you guys, and I know a lot of you on this Zoom, so make me proud. The next question that I have for you guys, I would like to preface this by saying that not a lot of people realize that most of the wineries in Alto Adige are co-ops. When I went, I was blown away by this. There's a beautiful camaraderie with the growers there. There's also something beautiful about the family-owned properties that are there amongst all of these co-ops. And so with you three, we are privileged enough to have three family-owned family-owned wineries that are just making amazing, mind-blowing wine. So I would like to ask if you could talk maybe a bit about the role of independent wineries in this region. Whenever I mean 75% of the production is co-ops. What do you think exactly sets you apart from everybody else? And what is important to you in your family-owned production? Woo.
The style of the wines has to be different because the three of us produce wines from our vineyards. So we know the soil, we know the terroir, we know the microclimate, but the crops, they have to get all the grapes. So they don't get just the grapes from the 2 vineyards they have. They get grapes from like all over Alto Adige. You have to understand that it's a different thing. It's a completely different thing. Just to make you understand the story of the crops, like you said, no?
I think Ines, can I?
Of course.
I think what makes us different in difference to the co-ops, that we are there from the vineyards until the end of the production. So we do everything in our own hands. So we are outside in the vineyards, then we are with the wines in the cellar, and then we are there for selling them. And each one of us is telling a story. We are a family, we own it for generations, we are working together as a family, multiple generations are working together. It's our identity a little bit, and it's history and future all in one. So we are living a little bit out of traditions, but at the same time, we are looking forward to the future as well. What brings, what is coming in the next 20, 25 years, or for the next generations. We are preserving the land for the next generations.
Yeah, I think that combines it pretty well of what we all, I think, have in as a family winery is our main goal. And I think there is an interesting question which I may answer. How large is a small family winery in comparison to the co-ops? So the co-ops in Alto Adige are, the biggest one is around 400 hectares. That's not quite big compared to the world's co-ops or even Italian co-ops in general. The family-owned wineries vary from very small, and I keep both of the associations that we have together to make it simpler, but from very small, starting at 1 hectare to really going up to 120 hectares or something like that, is the biggest. So there is quite a range of family wineries, which in the size, but like Magdalena said, we all have one thing in common. And especially also over the past years, we have been focusing a lot on the vineyard selection, on where we plant, on what we can plant in which area. And so this has become one of the main focuses also for the family-owned wineries.
I think that those are all really, really awesome insights to how important it is and the big differences that are going on with the co-ops and the family-owned wineries. Yeah, I think that you guys did a great job answering that question and giving different perspectives of it. And it all just comes down to the community that you share together, because all different sides of it are important for everything that's going on in Alto Adige. The next question that I have is, did you have something else to say?
There is another question in the chat. I just have it open.
Oh,
so
sure.
I think this is also interesting.
Yes.
If it is mandatory by law to use only estate-grown grapes to make wine for a family-owned winery or not, it is not mandatory. And in fact, that's an interesting question, because in my case, my family vinifies around 70 hectares. And we don't even differentiate between what the vintners that bring the grapes to us or our family-owned vineyards, because our main goal is to really bring the best grapes from the very best vineyards to our bottle, and not really differentiate on who works the grapes. It's really about the quality of the vineyard side. And I think even Matthias, in your case, it's maybe most of it is estate grown, but, and I know yours as well, Magdalena. But still, I think that's a very important part. It's all about the quality of the grapes, the quality of the vineyards, and not so much who owns them.
It's a little bit different by our two associations. So we, Manincor, in fact, we have more. We use more our private property or the grapes that we grow. But like you said, at the end, what matters is the quality.
We also have a question that says, how large is a small family winery in comparison to a co-op? I think that you kind of covered that as far as saying that some of the family wineries will have 70 hectares, whereas some of them will have much less. Let's say.
You can say that the co-ops go from 150 hectares to 500, like Nero, and the smaller private producers are from 2 hectares to 50.
There is another question about the difference of opinions between an older and a newer generation about the changes of the future. I think, of course, I mean, we are families, and we all know families are sometimes, it's a very difficult construct.
No, it's always easy and beautiful.
But I think I don't know, I speak for myself right now, but I'm sure that it's all most very similar in other families, that we have discussions, and at the end we always find a solution in the middle. Of course, we have sometimes other opinions because we, Ines and I, and also Matthias, we traveled the world. We worked in other places. So we are much open-minded a little bit, because sometimes when you are staying too long in one place, you're getting a little bit focused only on that thing. So I think that the younger generations are bringing a lot from the outside, and I think it's very important to have discussions. I don't know what you think.
No, absolutely.
And I also think it's very interesting from where Alto Adige comes from and where we are now, and that gives us within the family a huge difference from just generational. I mean, the generation of our fathers has been in a completely different position than we are now, because Alto Adige has developed in the past 30-40 years to one of the highest quality producing areas of all of Italy, and we were not there 40 years ago. We produced Schiava mostly, and we come from
when Ines and Magdalena were not even born.
Exactly. Exactly. Sometimes I get questions that I cannot even answer.
It was only Schiava, no?
Exactly.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next question. So the next question that we have is specifically for Magdalena. Every producer kind of has their own spin on Pinot Bianco out there. It is a thriving grape that I was blown away by the quality levels that I was able to experience. There are many factors that are at play in this entire region. I mean, different microclimates, altitudes, a plethora of things. How would you generally describe the flavor profile and the style of specific Alto Adige Pinot Bianco? I mean, do you aim to kind of make a fairly consistent house style, or do you vary it and experiment with how you want it to taste each vintage, or with different fermentation or yeast practices, or do you keep it straightforward?
So in general, I think it's very difficult to talk about the Pinot Blanc Alto Adige style, because like you said, we have different altitudes, different microclimate, different terroir. So they are all reflecting where they are growing. So at the end, every single Pinot Blanc in Alto Adige is in some ways different. And I think you can't you can say Pinot Blanc of Valvenosta is tasting the same like Pinot Blanc from Appiano. It's very, very different because you have different kind of soils. But I think, and there are many influences. So each winemaker has their own practice, their own winemaking styles, yeah, and different altitudes. So I think it's very difficult to talk about one style. And I think what I'm trying to do is that you can taste the vintage. So each year we are trying to get the best out of the vineyards, so the best quality. But at the end, you should taste the difference of the vintage, because that makes it so special. Because when we would have every year the same wine, it would be a little bit boring. Great. And I think, and that's also for me as a winemaker, that makes it it's so interesting, because every year you are learning something new, you're trying out something new. And I think for everyone, it's the goal to have the best quality of the grapes to make really a good wine. So yeah.
Awesome. What I think is I completely agree with Magdalena, because she's great. And it's not really possible to talk about a style, but the thing that the wines have in common is the freshness.
Yes, that's true.
The freshness and this minerality and this life and brightness of the wines, because like I said before, we are the Alps, and we have this great differences. Maybe not these days when it's 35 and more degrees the day, and the nights are not really cold. But from next week on, we have like 30 degrees, but the nights are like 10 Celsius. So we have these big differences of days and nights, which make a big difference. So I agree with Magdalena, but the only thing that maybe you can put together and they have in common, this freshness and this life facility that the wines have. Not only the Pinot Bianco and Pinot Nero, but also the other varieties that we produce, because it's many others.
That's true. And Pinot Blanc you find mostly on, it's starting in general, I would say at 600 meters above sea level. Maybe a little bit lower, but when we see Delano or Epan, they're mostly a little bit higher. And you were totally right. The freshness and the minerality is for sure something that
that's the thing I always say the important thing of understanding a region, of knowing a region, is knowing the microclimates and the topography of an. If you see Bordeaux, it's all flat, and if you come here, you will understand why it's different.
Absolutely. I think that you guys did a great job covering the differences that can be done with that grape in all different regions. My next question that I have is going to be for Ines and Matthias. Pinot Noir is not necessarily the grape that comes to mind when most people think about Italy at all, let alone Italy in the northern parts. So I mean, that's with buyers like myself, but also with consumers. Consumers don't really get exposed to Pinot Noir from Alto Adige. But this grape actually has like really deep roots. Get that? Deep roots in the region of Alto Adige. So can you kind of explain? Can you explain what the historical aspect is of this Alto Adige grape?
Ines, you want to start? Or I mean, I love history, but please.
You go ahead then with the history.
No, go ahead.
Well, from what I have learned, Pinot Nero has been brought to Alto Adige around 1830 or 40 or so, And it has been planted initially mostly around the Bolzano area, which has then been moved a little bit further south, as I said before, and then mostly planted in Mazzone, in the area above Neumarkt, which is considered, I would say, the Grand Cru of Italian Pinot Noir. Within Italy, it's also very known to be one of the best areas in the whole of Italy. And it's funny that Pinot Noir is planted quite a bit in Italy, also given by in the whole of Italy, I mean, also given by the trend. There is a current trend towards these more elegant style of wines, and Pinot Noir has always been very intriguing for many, many.
And lighter wine, trend, elegant and lighter wines.
Exactly. But Alto Adige is still considered within Italy the best area. We have a big advantage compared to other areas, and we have shown that we can do good Pinot Noirs over the past 30 years. And I feel like this is really what we currently bring out and what we try to bring through our wines. What do you think, Matthias?
No. I completely agree. So the history, as the question, as the older generations, they actually consider it almost like an indigenous grape, like an autochthone grape, like the Schiava, like the Banach, you know? And that's the reason, because it was planted, like Ines said, 1840s, 1850s, and these people always loved these wines, and still they love it, and still they say it's one of ours. I mean, it's but only in the particular areas, not everywhere, because the Pinot Bianco is white, like with a red dress.
I love that expression. So how do you guys think that this expression of the grape from Alto Adige kind of compares to the expression of the grape in other regions?
That's a tricky one. I always find that question
that's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. Oh,
I know.
Magdalena, go.
Yeah, that one's pretty deep.
That's a tricky one.
Especially because there is so many expressions, like around the world, there is so many expressions, even within Alto Adige. Like I said before, the Valvenosa Pinot Noirs are completely different from what we produce in the southern part of Alto Adige. But what I think is that there has been a little bit of shifting over the past 15 years, more or less, when the focus on Pinot Noir has been much bigger, and when also the quantity of Pinot Noir that has been produced, or the vineyard size has doubled, basically. We are now at 540 hectares. We used to be around 200 hectares about 15 years ago. No, only Pinot Noir, I mean.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And so there is a lot of growing, and with that, I have the feeling that we still internationally seen have a more elegant style. We have a softer style. We have a softer acidity, especially. And we don't have this richness, and we usually don't have that much of a color. That often also has been, I wouldn't say criticized, but very often appreciated, but very often also noted as a real difference between Pinot Noirs from all over the world and Pinot Noirs from Alto Adige. In my opinion, this softness, this very, very smooth and very elegant that we have is not, you cannot find everywhere anymore. It used to be classic Pinot Noir, but it's not everywhere anymore. And for me, that's something that we should preserve in Alto Adige, even though I think that in Alto Adige, we're really trying to find our way, because there has been this shift between classic style Pinot Noirs and the Reservas, which are slightly different. There is a little bit more trying of whole cluster fermentation, of longer maturations or shorter maturation. So there is a lot of trying going on. And even in our Pinot Noir, we have been using whole cluster. It has been maybe 10 years that we have been using whole cluster fermentations. And so the wine has slightly changed, of course. I mean, we have a little bit of a higher tannic structure. We have a little bit more structure in general, which does not have to be confused with like rich and powerful, because that's not what our Pinot Noir is. But if you want to add something, Matthias, that's just my personal opinion.
No, there's nothing to add. I just like I said before, it's in the end, it all comes down to microclimate and area, where you're coming from, where you are, makes a difference.
Absolutely. And you can
Magdalena,
definitely see.
maybe you see it, but Ines said it all. I mean, it's that's how you said it's.
I think you both are totally right, but I want only to add one thing, and it changed. Like you said, Pinot Noir changed within the years because younger generations came.
Yes,
they are changing the winemaking style a little bit, or?
In Alto Adige, everything changed in the 80s. Before the 80s, everything was Chiava. And then the first pioneers like Alois Lagueda, like Hans Stelzer, like Louis Reifer, they started to understand and believe in the soil and in the potential of Alto Adige. And it all started with that. They understood that we can make great wines.
And also about the history, I have to say that Pinot Noir has always been planted, but my grandfather told me sometimes they did not know how to sell it. They did not know how to vinify it.
Yeah.
They had a really hard time with Pinot Noir. So it was not, I mean, it has always been there. And
it was all about Cava.
Very old bottles, because my grandfather has always produced them and my dad has continued doing so. But the real boom has been in the past 15, 20 years, maybe, where we were able to actually make something at a very high level. And there are always exceptions who have been doing this for a longer time and who had a market before, but most of us just over the past 20 years, I would say.
Yes.
And in an international contest, it's very difficult to also find. I mean, I thought about this, and I think we would really have to compare it to the German Pinot Noirs, to the Oregon Pinot Noirs, and of course to the French, but we would not even dare to, go that far. So, so I think there, like in Burgundy, there is so many expressions. Also in Alto Adige, there's quite a bit of differences currently.
Absolutely. I mean, the juiciness and the beauty of the fruit is something that was completely surprising to me because I didn't quite know what to expect from a Pinot Noir from Alto Adige. So I've definitely been impressed. I'm impressed with the ones that we're drinking right now as well. They're so juicy and plush. I mean, I can't wait to see where it's going to go 10 years from now.
We always have to be conscious. Sorry. We always have to be that we are a really small region. We are like a small dot on the map. I mean, we are so small, and everybody talks about Burgundy. Everybody talks about maybe Oregon or I don't know, whatever, Tasmania. But we are so small. I mean, we are really small, and
it's beautiful to see that expression.
In the small area, we make tiny quantities.
So what do you guys think? I mean, as far as today, we're tasting different vintages of your wines, which I love. And I can see in the chat that people are really enjoying that as well, being able to see the variation from year to year. Can you talk a little bit about the current vintages that we're drinking or tasting and what you think the standouts were and how you feel about that?
Maybe I start with 21 because
sure.
So the two Pinot Blancs I think are 2021. So 21 was for us a very unusual winter. We had a lot of snow, and that's really unusual for our part of the valley. And it remained very long until spring. But that was perfect for our soil. And the spring was cooler than the years before and after. It was a warm summer, but the August was cool down, and that was perfect for slow down a little bit the ripening process. But 21 in general was a really good year with really great quality.
It shows in the wine.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. So
I believe that the Reserva is the 19th that we have. Right? What did you guys think about that?
The 19 was not that easy. I mean, I can. I mean, the wine the 19 is from nice, no?
No, ours is 19. I think yours
is.
is
No,
20,
it's
right?
yours.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's the Castelfeder.
So the 19 was, like Matthias said, a challenging year, especially for the Lagrein producers in Bolzano. Not so much about the Pinot Noir, but mostly about the Lagrein, because it was one of the biggest hailstorms, and I think they lost like 70 or 80% of their production. So quite impacting for the Lagrein. A little less, or actually a good year for most of the other wines, even though we had like weather ups and downs. Not a very constant year, but what we had and what is usually some of our best years are the ones with a long fall, a warm fall especially. And that was 2019. It was a very long and very constant fall. And for us, very wines with a very interesting acidity, elegant wines, and that's of course for Pinot Noir what we are looking for, compared to a 2018 before that, which was really rich and powerful, and which was a good year as well, but much more powerful than 2019. So currently we are expecting a more longevity on the 2019 red wines.
You can definitely see the quality in this sample. This wine is beautiful. I mean, it is very beautiful.
Just to flash back again, like Ines said, 19 and 18. 18 was a pretty good year, but our Pinot Noir in 18 is exceptional. It's great, and the Pinot Noir vineyard is about 1.5 miles north from Manincor, and in that year it was hailing badly at Manincor. So we didn't harvest a lot. In that moment, when that hailstorm came at Mazon Vineyard, it didn't even rain. So just to get back, the topography, the microclimates are completely different. So if you say in that area it hails and it's the worst vintage that we had, but the Pinot Noir, which is just 1.5 miles north, is great. So that, you have to be conscious in the Alps. Weather conditions change really fast and really close.
Absolutely. So I know we're kind of finishing up here. I have one last question if anybody would like to chime in on this. I know it's a hot topic today about sustainability practices within your winery. If anybody would like to touch on that before we break. For the people that are still on, if you need to jump off, I understand, and I thank you for your time. Also, I'd like to remind everybody that the next video session will be August 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern, and it will be focused on the co-ops. So if you are interested in doing that, we'll make sure to send you the Zoom link to show or to sign up for that one as well. But for right now, take it away with sustainability, guys.
I mean, your question, Matthias.
No. I think it's our question. It's our own question, because I think everybody has to be conscious, like Ines and also Magdalena. I think Magdalena said, for the next generations. Now we work with wine and we live with wine. If we don't sell and we don't produce these grapes, we can go on. It's easy.
Yeah,
so I think everybody's conscious about that, and everybody has to make his decisions. One does it like that, and one does it like that. But in the end, everybody has to be conscious that it's your life, it's your future, and not just your future. But it's the future of the generations. So I think sustainability, anyway, the word is important, because it's your life. So everybody decides how to do it. There are different ways, but in the end, I think it's important. I think it's really important. Yeah, and it's easier for producers like us as for co-ops that bring the grapes and get the money for that, and nobody cares how they're produced. So, but for family producers like we are, I think it's important. how the grapes are grown and how they are made, because I like to go through the vineyards and eat the grapes and go with the kids and have fun and enjoying the group. But everybody has to decide for himself how his future will be. It's easy. It's a really easy question.
I think what's really important here, like you said, Matthias, that we are family-owned wineries, and the land where we are growing our grapes, it's our capital, and we want to preserve that for the future generation. Because when we don't have that, at the end, we can't give anything else to the next generation.
That's it.
And I think in that way, we work sustainable. I think everyone makes, like Matthias said, his own decision if he does it biological, biodynamic, or conventional. But at the end, the outcome should be always the same, that we are preserving the land for the future generations.
Yes. That is the main goal.
Awesome. Well, on that note, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and for staying late to chat with us, and thank my panel for being amazing. Yes, I believe that there is a lot to learn about this region, and that I will be very excited to see where it goes within the next 5 years from now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you to the panel. Thank you to the guests. Everybody have a wonderful day. Don't forget to follow Alto Adige on social. We'll keep you up to date with all of the fun stuff coming out with this region.
Ciao, everybody, and thank you.
Ciao. Thank you.
Cheers.